Have you ever stared at a blank page and just felt completely paralyzed? Like writing a great story is some kind of impossible magic trick, and you're just waiting for a bolt of inspiration that you're pretty sure is never going to come? Well, today we're going to blow that idea right out of the water. We're going to turn that magic into something you can actually hold in your hands: mechanics.
And look, this is the question that it eats away at so many of us, right? You watch your favorite movies, you read these incredible books, and the skill behind them just feels otherworldly. Like you're either born with it or you're not. It feels like this exclusive club, and you're stuck on the outside looking in. But is that really how it works?
You know, this mindset, this idea that it's all a miracle, it's actually really dangerous. As producer Dr. Ken Atchity says, the moment you think of writing as a miracle, you've made it impossible. I mean, think about it. Who can just perform a miracle whenever they want? It's a belief that just stops you dead in your tracks before you even type a single word.
So, what's the alternative? Well, it's all about a massive shift in perspective. It's about dropping the whole waiting for magic act and starting to think like a craftsman, like a mechanic, someone who works with tools, who follows a plan, and who actually builds something with skill and precision.
So let's break this down. You've really got two paths here. On one side, you have the magician. They're waiting around for inspiration, for that miracle, which just makes the whole thing feel impossible. But on the other side, you have the craftsman. They roll up their sleeves, they study the blueprints of other stories, and they figure out how the machine actually works. One is about waiting, the other is about doing.
The core idea here is actually really simple when you think about it like this. If you wanted to build a beautiful wooden table, you wouldn't just stare at a log and hope it magically turns into one, right? No. You'd go find a table you love, you'd flip it over, maybe even take it apart, and you'd study exactly how it was put together. Well, it is the exact same logic for writing a story.
Dr. Atchity tells this amazing story about one of his students, a woman named Millie Meyer. They were at a workshop, and she kind of quietly admitted to him that she'd taken her absolute favorite book, The Grapes of Wrath, and had outlined the entire thing, scene by scene, just to see how it worked. She was almost embarrassed, worried people would think she was silly for doing it.
But his reaction was the complete opposite of what she expected. He looked at her and said, "No, you're the only craftsman in the class." She was the one doing the real gritty work of a professional writer, deconstructing a masterpiece to learn its secrets. So listen, this isn't cheating. This is studying. This is how the pros do it.
Okay, so let's get concrete. Let's look at some real-world mechanics in action. And if you're one of those people who still thinks storytelling is all free-flowing art with no blueprints, well, you're in for a surprise. The television industry has been using them for decades.
7. I want you to remember that number. For a long, long time, the standard television movie wasn't built in 3 acts, like you might think. Nope, it was built in 7. And you gotta ask yourself, why 7?
Well, the reasons have nothing to do with magic and everything to do with practicality. This structure helps break down that long, tough middle of the story, what writers sometimes call the Serengeti plain of Act 2, into pieces you can actually manage. But the biggest reason? Commercial breaks. Seriously, studio executives would literally have writers fill in 7 boxes during a pitch meeting. It was a business tool, plain and simple.
And here it is. This is basically what that blueprint looked like. Each little box, each act, has a very specific job to do. From the setup in Act 1 to a huge moment in Act 3 called the point of no return, where the hero can't turn back, all the way to the final resolution. When you see it laid out like this, it stops being this big, scary mystery. It's a machine designed to do one thing: keep you hooked even through the commercials.
Okay, so if the pros are using structures like that, what kind of tools can you use? The hands-on stuff that helps you build your own stories from the ground up.
All right, this one is one of my absolute favorites. It's called the intensity chart. I want you to think of it like an EKG for your story's heartbeat. It's a simple, but honestly a brilliant diagnostic tool that lets you see the rhythm of your drama instead of just, guessing at it.
And it is so easy to make. First, you just list out every important scene and write a one-line summary for it. Then, next to each summary, you give it a drama score using hyphens. So a quiet, low-key scene might get 2 hyphens, and a huge, explosive climax gets 10. And finally, you just connect the ends of the hyphens with a line.
And here is the cool part. You turn that piece of paper on its side, and what do you have? A roller coaster. You can instantly see where your story soars, where it dips, and most importantly, where it flatlines. If you've got a long, boring stretch where nothing is happening, that chart will scream it at you. It tells you exactly where you need to go back and add some excitement.
And hey, it's not just about fancy charts. We're talking old school tools too. like a simple pack of 3x5 index cards. Writing one key scene on each card forces you to get right to the point. And the best part? You can lay them all out on your floor and physically rearrange your entire story until it feels perfect. It's an amazing way to work.
So, we've talked about structures, we've talked about tools, but why? Why is all this mechanic talk so important? What's the actual goal for a writer who thinks like a craftsman? It might not be what you think.
Okay, here's the big secret. Your job as a writer is not to perfectly copy reality. That's impossible, and honestly, it'd probably be pretty boring. Like Aristotle said thousands of years ago, art is an imitation of reality. Our job is to create a powerful and convincing illusion.
I want you to picture a movie set. When you're watching the film, that building on screen looks 100% real, right? But if you could walk around to the back of it, what would you see? Just a bunch of wood and scaffolding holding up a fake front. And guess what? That is exactly what a writer does.
You don't have to build the entire world, with all the plumbing and electrical worked out. You only have to build the parts the audience is going to see. You use just enough of the right details, the right brushstrokes, to make them believe in the world you've created. The true craft is knowing which details are the ones that matter.
So you see, writing isn't some magic trick you have to guess at. It's a craft. It's a skill you can learn. It's all about taking things apart to see how they tick, and then using those same tools and principles to build something new, something that's all your own. So the only real question left for you is, what masterpiece are you going to put on the workbench first?